Mr. President, I thank my colleague from Pennsylvania, Senator Casey, for his compelling remarks. And in fact, for the last several hours, we have heard compelling remarks from a number of our colleagues, and I thank Senator Kaine from Virginia for helping to organize this effort, and all of those who have come to the floor to talk about the lasting and negative effects of this senseless shutdown. A shutdown that is all about President Trump yielding to Rush Limbaugh and the right-wing commentators who told him he wasn't being tough enough. And Senators Casey and Markey reminded us how we got here, that we had an agreement, that we thought the president had committed to sign. His vice president, his chief of staff, acting chief of staff, told us he was going to sign it. It passed the Senate on a voice vote. And what's so ironic, as Senator Markey said, is that what's happening now is actually making us less safe. The idea that we've got all of these people on our southern border, all of these TSA agents, people who are working 800,000 employees, 400,000 who are furloughed, 380,000 who are working without pay. And that's actually making us less safe. As Senator Durbin pointed out, a wall across our southern border wouldn't do anything to interdict the fentanyl that's coming across from China. That's the biggest killer of people in New Hampshire from overdoses. It's the fentanyl. And as Senator Jones pointed out, the Coast Guard's role in interdiction is what's significant. It's not a wall that's going to keep out those vehicles that are going to come through our ports of entry. Senator Stabenow reminded us that there are 38 million people who depend on food assistance, and a quarter of the people in New Mexico, as Senator Heinrich told us, depend on food assistance. And he quoted his constituent, Kathy, who pointed out that the president is holding us hostage. She said, federal employees are being held hostage. And we're being held hostage now in the Senate because we are unwilling to act, the majority is unwilling to act on the legislation that has passed the House and previously passed the Senate. You know, Senator Bennett talked about China landing on the dark side of the moon last week. It's a reminder that we have to compete in this world, that we can't assume that America is going to be number one in everything again. And yet, while China was landing on the dark side of the moon, our government was shut down. Thousands of researchers weren't doing their jobs at NASA and the Department of Agriculture and so many other places because we were shut down. And the cost to the economy as a whole, as Senator Hassan pointed out, there are craft breweries in New Hampshire, small businesses who can't get their businesses started because government is shut down. Senator Klobuchar pointed out that the cost to the economy, according to the president's own advisors, is $10 billion a week. Now, at a time when the stock market is going up and down, when we have people losing billions of dollars because of fluctuations in the stock market, $10 billion a week contributes to that uncertainty. And then, of course, Senator Van Hollen and Senator Merkley and virtually everybody here talked about the impact on ordinary Americans from this government shutdown. Well, we're going to hear from President Trump in about 5 minutes. He's going to speak to the country. But I'll bet he doesn't talk about the impact on ordinary Americans of this government shutdown. I bet he doesn't talk about the cost of the economy or what he promised to sign when this Congress passed funding bills. I'll bet he doesn't talk about the future of America and what's going to happen if we don't continue to invest in research, if we don't continue to invest in our people, and instead get involved in these partisan fights. No, I think what he's going to do is tell Americans a made-up story about the emergency at our southern border, an emergency that we saw from Senator Durbin and Senator Merkley is not real. We've gone from 1.6 people coming across our southern border and being arrested down to about 200,000 in the last year. So this is not a crisis that's affecting America. We need to address border security. Everybody here believes that. All of the people who spoke tonight said we need to address border security. But we need to do it in a way that's thoughtful and that spends taxpayer dollars wisely. So, Mr. President, it's time for us to act in the Senate. It's time for Congress to fund this government, to get it back open. And I very much appreciate Senator Kaine's work here tonight as we talk about the impacts on this country of this government shutdown. Thank you, Mr. President.